All right, a very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever it is you're listening to us from, maybe the nation's capital or the capital city, like Somi would call it, or any other place in Nigeria, or perhaps even some other place in the continent, or perhaps some other place in the world. We say welcome. Thank you for sticking with your passionate talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info FM Abuja. It is our delight that we are back at work to have conversations, engagements with you. How has the day been? How has it been so far? I trust the day has been going on well for you. I love to ask. I hope that business has been good. Work has been good as well. How is that boss of yours that likes to, that is very quick to vex you? I hope the relationship is going on well. One of the saddest things that can happen to an individual is to have a very, very annoying boss. Because now your means of livelihood is threatened. You know, when you cannot, you have to work, and then your boss is difficult. How do you juggle both? But this is the reality of many people in their offices. I've been there once, and I've prayed never ever to be there in my life again. Have you ever experienced such?
The experience was that bad, huh?
It was that bad. It was that bad. You know, when you're going to the office and your heart is palpitating, you can feel the beat, beep, beep, beep. At some point, you begin to consider maybe my sanity is worth it. But the point is that if you do not eat, your sanity will be threatened as well. So what do you do?
What do you do indeed? I don't know that I've experienced it at that level.
You've not had a toxic boss before?
I've had a problematic one. I don't know about toxic, you know. I my approach is always just go in and give 110%. Whether they like it or not, it's not your business. Just do your part. And yeah, that's my approach.
Okay.
That's my
Whether
approach.
they like it, but at that point, it may not exactly have much of a choice. You just have to do the best that you can do.
Exactly.
Except if you want to fire me, or fire me.
No, don't fire me. Let me resign. No. What's that, please? I'd rather you resign. I have pride.
Oh, so it's about pride for you. What would you prefer if it is clear that your tenure, your time in an organization has come to an end? Would you prefer, that means you prefer to resign than to be sacked?
Yes, of course.
Well, being sacked is not a big deal.
Depending on the organization you're working, there are certain benefits and how long you've worked there, for example. There are certain things that don't accrue to you if you're fired as opposed to if you resign. That is why some companies will even advise you to resign. That's the ones that are kind enough. They have hearts small. They have good hearts. They will say, okay, we advise you to resign. So that at least even if it's some form of terminal benefit that you get, you still, you know,
if you get to resign, I thought that if you get sacked, you get like some severance benefits.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on where you're working. What I'm familiar with is that resignation is better than being fired.
On your CV, yes.
It's better than being fired. So even if the organization wants to fire you, they will advise you to resign if they want you to accrue some of those benefits that are due to you. That's what I know of. Perhaps it works differently in other places. So yes, apart from the pride, I don't want to miss out on some of those.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not talking about sack today, but we're talking about jobs. That's a very good place to start from. Talking about employment. I mean, you are going to, if you do not have a boss, if you do not have a job in the first place, what are you going to get sacked from, ladies and gentlemen? And we're looking at the unemployment rate in the country. It is alarming. It is at double figure. It has been at double figures for the longest, according to even the National Bureau of Statistics. And a particular organization, or should I say group or committee, are saying that there's got to be intentional effort in terms of job employment, creation of job employment, if we do not want to implode by the end of the year. That's 2030 now. They're talking about the National Economic Summit Group,
yep.
the NESG. Now, we're officially in the big three. By the way, don't forget that you can always join us in these conversations on 0700 951 0000, 0809 597 4869.
We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. Go to Nigeria Info Abuja to be part of the conversation, especially if you're dropping in those messages on our social media. Let us know where you are reaching us from. Okay? So yes, intentionality is what the NESG is talking about if we want to fix the crisis of unemployment in Nigeria. And how intentional are they saying we should be? They're saying 27 million jobs, at least 27 million jobs in the formal sector of its economy by 2030 if we are going to stem the tide of unemployment. As its working age population expands to about 168 million. So yes, the number of people who are entering into the labor force is increasing year on year, and we're not able to match that. And so we're having record high numbers, just as Gabriel talked about earlier, in unemployment. I mean, if you want to, that's unemployment, right? If you want to even check, I think there's another one they call it. So it's one thing to be able to be employed, it's another thing to be employable. If you merge both statistics together, only God knows where we're going to stand at. But NESG is saying at the very least 27 million jobs in the formal sector by 2030. And they revealed this in their report titled From Hustle to Decent Work, Unlocking Jobs and Productivity for Economic Transformation in Nigeria, from hustle to decent work. I think that's quite an interesting title for the document, because what you have a lot of the time is a number of these young employable young Nigerians are coming out and finding that finding work or getting employed is not as easy, and so they resort to what we popularly call hustle. Who was it that was saying the other day that Nigerians should leave content creation? I think it was Shehu Sani. That Nigerians should leave content creation and do what? I can't remember what exactly he was referring to. But
well, he was speaking in the context of taking back the country.
Yeah, I get that, right? But again, you have someone who's, finished from school, gone out, try to get a few jobs here and there, is hustling on the side just to make ends meet, and God forbid if this person is required to fend for the family, that conversation that we had yesterday, if you're required to fend for the family, and it does look like the online space in different formats is what is sort of helping the average young Nigerian youth to get by. So you have people who are doing everything from content creation to e-commerce businesses as much as they can. And also you have people who are playing in the remote work space. So whatever the case is, young people are going online more often than not because there's nothing to fall back to in the job market. So this is what NESG is saying, 27 million. If we're to break that down year on year, from now to 2030, that's an average of how many jobs per year? And the president did make promises, I believe, when it came to employment and Nigerian youth and all of that. But, are they matching that? Are we seeing anything on ground that is even going to make this 27 million jobs a reality? Or is it just one of those statements that, sounds all very nice and good, but are we building, what's it called? Is it castles in the sky?
Yeah.
This one. They are urging urgent action. They are warning that we must act urgently as a country. There we go. Unemployment and underemployment could double by the end of the decade, trapping millions in low-income, insecure work. We're already at that point, and they're saying we need to move a lot faster.
Yeah.
But are we seeing anything on ground that urges for these, or that allows for these figures to give us some kind of hope that maybe we're closer or we're on course? I don't think so.
I honestly do not think so too, Sobi. So I'm looking at I'm trying to get exact figure here. I don't think the NBS has released the official figure of unemployment rate in Nigeria as at this year. I think it's something done year on year. But according to the IMF, as of June 2025, it stood at 22.6%. That's the unemployment rate in Nigeria. Now, 4.5 million jobs annually, if we're going to arrive at 27 million jobs in 2030.
That's what we need to do, 4.5?
Yeah, approximately, right?
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, or 4 point something. Now, I began to look at some of the things that the NESG released as some of the issues that must be critical, or the 6 Nigeria Works framework that a nation needs to put in place for jobs and productivity agenda. And one of them is skills for productivity, investing in skills development, especially technical, vocational, digital, and soft skills to address the widespread skills mismatch. Now, you think that for a country where there's always, skill development acquisition program going on at one rate, just always every week in the FCT, for example, somebody is doing something about skill acquisition.
I like the fact that you said somebody, because I know that there's a lot of work going on in the private space, NGOs, CSOs, and the likes. I don't know how much of it is happening at the federal level. I do know that one agency that is very active when it comes to these things is SMEDAN, but they don't put out a lot of information, a lot of reports. So it's not really clear. If they are doing enough at the federal level to get Nigeria to where it needs to get to. But perhaps we can look at the other key areas that you mentioned, the framework areas that we need to see to know if we can achieve this.
Is it about the federal government now? Because even if private individuals, for example, organize skill acquisition programs, which we always do, somebody's doing something, from IT skills to manufacturing this, manufacturing soap, I think that the problem is two things, or the problems are two things. One, we do not have a lot of capturing. I do not know if the NBS, I would need to look into the NBS, perhaps have someone from the NBS explain to us how much capturing of some of these soft skills acquired jobs, how much of it has been encaptured into the data. What I'm saying is, now, how many jobs are there, talking about the white collar jobs, going to the offices? Many people work from home. There are so many lawyers now that sell wigs. So many, that was supposed to be a shade on a friend of mine, by the way, but moving on. The point is, there are so many people who are doing side hustle, and that's why this report called it hustle, right? Many people are doing hustle on the side. Now, according to definition of unemployment, looking at the definition of unemployment from the NBS, I wrote it down somewhere here. It says, under the new methodology, a person is considered employed if they worked for at least 1 hour in the reference period or pay or profit. This is a significant change from the older system and has led to sharp drop from previous rates. So what they're trying to say is that if you're working for at least 1 hour a day and you are paid for that 1 hour. So I think there's got to be a look into it, because now we have so many people who are doing business on the side, from selling, because employment could be either self-employment or you're working under an employer. That's still employment.
I don't know if that is the context that this report is capturing it. I don't know that is the report, because if that is the case, you have a lot of people that are self-employed. They may have like other blue collar, white collar, whatever it is that you want to call it, but then they still have things that are doing on site, which is why I had a problem with the title of this report, and I mentioned it. It said from hustle to decent work. Perhaps if a politician or statesman can come out and say content creation should be jettisoned for nation building. I think that was Woody's. I'm not sure. Who says you cannot? Who says you cannot engage in nation building activities through content creation? So I'm getting a sense that the title of this report, again, I wasn't there, and we're going to study this report in detail, but we need to open up the phone lines a bit, so let's not dwell too much on it. But it says here, moving from hustle to decent work, but you have a country that has made the macroeconomy so difficult that even somebody who wants to be self-employed has to go through so many hurdles, and so it makes it really, really difficult for them. And so they're looking for ways to re-strategize and all of that. So whatever the case is, whether self-employed,
do you consider content creation as a job?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
There are offices that are created for content creators
that's
across board
that's
in
my point.
different
That's
organizations.
my point. According to the NBS, they are looking at a new methodology of calculating employment rate. Now we're waiting for the one for 2025, and I believe that Nigeria, we have a very agile nation, agile young population, where young people are not necessarily looking for the industries or the what's it called now, where manufacturing is done, warehouses are not waiting for the manufacturing plants to be created or to be built anymore. There's a lot of job engagement that is being done. We have virtual assistants. These people are people that are making, sometimes they earning even dollars. So I am looking at where a lot of this is even captured, because, Nigerians are not entirely lazy people.
So I get your point. I'm not arguing that with you, which is where we need to consolidate at federal level, because what you started out by saying is it a thing of the government? Yes, government needs to consolidate. If they're not actively involved in creating these opportunities for skill acquisition and all of that on a regular basis, perhaps they're involved at some level, but maybe not as much as what you have going on in the private sector. Then there needs to be consolidation at the federal level. Is it the NGO or the what they call the philanthropist or whoever it is that is doing their own on the side, however, no matter the scale, that will not be responsible for sending their data to the federal government? If there is a mechanism in place, perhaps they will. But if there isn't, then they just have the data, and it is for federal government to say, okay, look, bring what you're doing. At least if you're not actively involved, we can partner with you on the aspect of data collection.
Yeah.
So it still falls back to the federal government from the way I see it.
All right.
I don't know if we can get into that framework because we have the other two stories and we need to open up the phone lines.
Definitely. So before we move on from this particular issue, let's look at the key pillars and strategies for job creation according to what the NESG are proposing or what they're recommending. One, skills for productivity, which I already mentioned. Two, sectoral engines of growth, driving growth in high potential labor intensive sectors. The report also identified manufacturing, construction, information and communications technology, ICT, professional services, also stating that these key sectors are expected to contribute 35% of the new formal jobs, with manufacturing alone accounting for 21%. Also mentions enterprise-led growth, upgrading the informal economy, which is one thing I believe needs to be done. But by the time we capture the informal economy into the data, I believe that the figure will drop. That's what I sincerely believe, because they're saying implementing strategies to reorganize and formalize the highly informal economy, where over 90% of current employment lies, to improve productivity and decent work opportunities. So now that the FIRS, right, or the Revenue Service of the Nation, are looking at capturing everybody, so much that it is said that even the ladies of easy virtue are going to be taxed too. I believe that things like this should have gone ahead, where the informal sector is first captured in these things, so that if necessary policies that can help encourage these informal jobs, in quotes, if they need to be put in place, they can be put in place. If
sectors that help encourage informal jobs,
by the time they are being recognized, they're no longer informal. At the moment, they are called informal.
Yeah.
Yes, at the moment. By the time they're now captured and recognized, I mean, I think about it. I've spoken about a lot of people who are like vendors online. That's not even it. I'm talking about virtual assistants, for example. It's a big and growing industry. There are so many people who do all of their job, all of their work online. It needs to be captured, because that is what people... AI, for example, there are so many people that's their job. They teach AI, they do a lot of research, AI tools, and the rest of it. So I'm just saying that before we even begin to look at taxing everybody, how much has been done in this regard in terms of catch? And that's exactly what the NESG is also recommending.
All right. We will get your thoughts on that in a little bit. Let's see what the other two stories are saying. This one here, Federal High Court in Abuja has been asked to stop former President Goodluck Jonathan from contesting the 2027 presidential election or any future presidential race in Nigeria. In a suit marked FHCABJCS 2102-2025, a lawyer, John Mary Chidobe, is seeking an order of perpetual injunction restraining Jonathan from presenting himself to any political party in Nigeria for nomination as its candidate for either the 2027 poll or any future election. GDOB also wants the court to bar INEC from accepting or publishing Jonathan's name as a candidate and to direct the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure compliance with the court's decision. INEC and the AGF are listed as the second and third defendants. In a supporting affidavit deposed by an Emmanuel Agida, the plaintiff describes himself as an advocate of constitutionalism and the rule of law, and he argued that Jonathan, having completed the tenure of late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua and subsequently serving a full 4-year term after winning 2011 election, had already exhausted the constitutional limit of 2 terms. Okay. No date has been fixed for hearing of the cases at the time of the filing of report. And we know that I think a similar one was filed in 2022 in Yenagua, and it was dismissed for lacking merit, ruling that Jonathan was eligible to contest because of Section 1373 of the Constitution, which limits the tenure of anyone who completes anyone's term, and came into effect. Which limits the tenure of anyone who completes another's term, and this came into effect after Jonathan had left office. The judge held that the law could not apply retroactively to disqualify him. We know that the former president's name has been surfacing in the news here and there. He's made a few appearances, even though he didn't speak to any of the rumored or suspicions that he would throw his hat in for 2027 election. Not that I've seen anyway, but as it stands, GDOB is taking it a step further to say, look, we're citing the Constitution, and he would breach the law of the land if he's allowed in 2027 or any other time in the future.
Yeah, I think there's already a court ruling that clears former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 election.
That's if you're referring to the one in 2022, where a case was brought up and he was dismissed for lacking merit.
Yes, exactly. And that's why this one in particular is here now. And, you know, like they say, I've heard from legal practitioners that there are certain gaps and loopholes in the law, right? And it is the work of the lawyers to manipulate those vacuums to their benefit. Now, let's see because this is a very, very interesting, precedent that is going to be set, whether he's going to be allowed to run in office, because that means he would have been president of Nigeria for the 3rd time. Should he even go ahead to win? That is important that I add that part. But the matter is one that is very interesting. There are so many other issues like this that I think we need to be very careful in how we address them, not because of now, but because of the future, what we call posterity. Because, there's always the pattern or the trend of history repeating itself. When it happened in 2004 and 2006, under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, where Plateau State's government, where Ekiti State government were, in quotes, suspended both for 6 months for different reasons, by the way. And it happened here this time around. It goes to show something. History always repeats itself. Because if it has happened before, that's to show that it's somebody will go back, in the future, next 20 years, next 15 years, next 10 years. This is what happened in the last 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So it sort of validates what it will be in the future. Now, as far as the former President Goodluck Jonathan, now, as a citizen of the country, he's under every right to contest election in the country. That's the honest truth. However, having served as president 2 times makes it becomes a political debate whether he is eligible or not. And that's one that honestly we'll have to wait and see what the clearing from the court is going to look like. But as we're talking about this from a political angle, honestly, it's going to be very interesting because many people now, what the conversation is that this is one man that can go head to head, toe to toe with the current president. Clearly, from what the writings on the wall is or are, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will most likely will recontest election in 2027. I mean, we've seen billboards all over the cities, the nation's capital, and all of it. Meanwhile, the ADC, by the way, they had a meeting, closed-door meeting, I think earlier today. I saw that report on the news as well. It goes to show that everybody's, because now we are really close to the elections. You think that we have a year. By the time this year is over, then you realize that the elections are as good as here. So everybody is doing all they can. The permutations are ongoing and all of it. This one matter is one I wish as a country would critically look at it. Because, even when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was contesting and he put forward the Muslim ticket, I said something to myself. I said, this issue isn't about now. It is about the next 20 years. It's about the next 30 years. If in the next 15, 20 years, somebody comes and says, okay, I want to have a Christian ticket, he has every right, because now the precedent has been laid already. And meanwhile, the idea, even though they were looking at the permutation in terms of the, according to what was being said or what is being said, the president trying to buy in the vote of the northerners, at that point in time, the circumstances around the country may have changed. Clearly, a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is looking to buy the votes of the northerners would not be in the picture anymore. In the next 10, 15 years, when somebody comes and says, I want to contest for election, he's looking like the most likely winner, and he's putting on the table a Christian ticket. This wasn't about religion. It was about the federal character principle. It was about fair play. That everybody, every tribe, that's what brings about the zoning system, every religion or the major religions are adequately represented. That was the idea. Of course, it wasn't in the constitution, but that's the fundamental principle behind some of these things. Gentleman agreements. So even though we allowed it to fly and the president has been in power, okay, well and good. I'm just concerned about the next 10 years, the next 30 years, the next 50 years. When someone comes and says, I want to contest for election, Christian tickets. At that point in time, the circumstances may be different. What would the conversation be like then? And that is why I always wish that we are a lot more careful when we get to issues like this, where we do not have a past record to fall back on and see what happened before. How do we address this? This will be the first. Whether Goodluck Jonathan or former President Goodluck Jonathan can contest again, it will be the first. If it's cleared and he goes ahead to contest, that's history on record. If it's denied, that is history on record. So I just wish that whatever the decision is, we critically look at it. The judges or those who are going to be the jury in the case are going to be mindful of the future when they are gone. And now the new generation has taken over.
I personally feel like it's unfortunate that we are in a position where we have to be, speaking based on, we're speculating, we're not sure what is going to be the outcome or the decision by the court and all of that. And that comes down to the gaps that have been mentioned or the ambiguity that we've seen that can be taken advantage of, as far as the Constitution goes and what it says. It really should be a clear case of this is what the law of the land says, and anybody who is presenting a suit already knows that, it could be thrown out because it really and truly is lacking merit, or is subject to conversation if the law of the land permits it. So unfortunately, this is where we are as a country. I think that fixing these things going forward still comes down to conversations around constitutional review. If there are any ambiguities in the law concerning things like this, it should be made clear. It should be simple. I don't know if lawyers will be will really have a case really, or if they will continue to be lawyers if they can't debate certain things in law. But even if you're going to establish precedent, I believe there's a way to do it in the law that sets the record straight for anybody going forward. So again, maybe you say, okay, GDA Obi has taken this to court and all of that. It should be properly debated on, which I think where you're going. Properly debated on, so that it sets the record straight. Because we can't have a suit thrown out in 2022 and 3 years later the same submission is made in court again. It should be clear in our law so that we know what to do going forward. I think it's that simple.
I have a very hot take, Somi.
How about we hear from the people?
We are going to hear get their hot take. But I do not think that, except something changes tomorrow morning, I do not think the current set of lawmakers we have, or in even the next 10 years, I do not think they're interested in sorting out these gray areas, because the gray areas work in their favor.
Well, it shouldn't be up to them. That's why there's an entire process. There's an entire process that is taking place or has taken place, and they're still, in the concluding stage. They're just about to get into the concluding stages, and that's why we keep urging Nigerians to take part in the processes so that we clear this up. It really is not up to them. And if you leave it, same thing we keep saying, if you leave all matters of governance to the elected officials we have, there's not going to be any changes.
You and I are not going to, we're not going to, there's no plenary session here. You and I are not going to pass it for first reading, second reading. It's up to them to do that.
No, but certain conversations have been had.
Yes.
At town hall meetings and at this level where Nigerians could be very much a part of, whether individually or as members of umbrella groups who are pushing these conversations.
But beyond that, what next?
And so you make your submissions, and then depending on what they do with it, you know the next move to make.
But my point is, at the point of actualization of some of these conversations you're talking about, it happens there at the National Assembly.
Do you know, were you a part of the process? Do you know what was submitted? Do you know what was, hold up, I'm asking this not to you.
Okay.
For the people who were part of the process, you know what was tendered, you know what was submitted, you know the hours of work that went into putting these recommendations forward. We follow through with them. If we see that there's a calculated attempt to toss some of these things out because it will affect them, which they maybe want to do if they're irresponsible lawmakers, then we follow through with the conversation. It's that simple.
All right.
Otherwise, we keep having these conversations. Let's go to the phone lines because we need to hear from you all and see if we can take on the last story. 0700951 0000 009-597-4869 and on WhatsApp 009-993-0137. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Adela Victor from this Alaji.
Go ahead, sir.
You see, I always, anytime I call on this platform and I want to advise Jonathan, what I always say is that he should not go back to politics, active politics, by saying that he wants to run for president. You see, constitutionally, some people believe he has the right to run, but morally speaking, I want to advise me not to mess himself up in the hands of these political investors and contractors, jobbers who surround Jonathan. You see, they hate Jonathan. That is why they are not telling him the right to do. And I believe Jonathan is matured enough to use his discretion and come out and tell the whole world around that I'm no more contested. Maybe if he does that, he will not shame these people.
All right then.
By keeping quiet is not the right decision for him.
All right.
There will be speculation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon. The issue of Jonathan not contesting or contesting, I think to me, he has a right to contest at least the issue of the defense franchise. We've seen Donald Trump, who after the first tenure came back. We've also seen the same thing here in Ghana. In fact, the same set of Jonathan said the man lose the election and then he contest again and succeeded. I do not know whatever name. People keep talking about the issue of he should not come and rubbish himself. look, Jonathan name was rubbish even before he left office. So which name are they going to rubbish? They are not rubbish before. So him be contesting, to me, I feel he's within his constitutional right. So nobody should look at the whole thing as he's going to rubbish his name. If he does not win, then he doesn't win. But if he wins, well, so be it. After all, what he did, we see those who love him, who believe in him.
Okay.
And believe that he's the only one that can, be the one to challenge this administration and
all right.
Succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to WhatsApp very quickly. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Somi, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Yeah, my brother Gabriel, good afternoon. You see, Justice of Peace Online.
All right.
This matter of Goodluck Jonathan. Well, I knew that 2014 thereabout, this matter came up before, just as you have said, that according to Constitution, you can't take more than twice the oath of office. And they look at when Yar'Adua died, when he was an active president for some time, later they now sworn him in to take effective action as the sitting president. So they look at that. That was the first time of being sworn in. Now, after then he contests again, and he was sworn in again. So they look at this was his, but I think he's being the incumbent president then. The matter was just like looking down to. But you see, in terms of him contesting again, I would join the people that might say he shouldn't. The reason is because, my brother, Nigeria is not America. And I can tell you for free that Donald Trump contested and ruled for 4 years with his hand clean. In Jonathan's government, there was a lot of errors. There was a lot of corruptions on ground, in which even somebody like this FCT minister is part of it. He was the education minister then.
All right,
a lot
sir.
of them that are in this government now were part of it.
Okay.
So, if you know he can defend himself, let him contest. There's nothing wrong if the court clear him that it was only once that he took the oath of office. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Let's take some more. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
My name is Chuka, calling from Toby.
Welcome. Kindly turn down the volume of your device, please. Turn down the volume of your device, please. Go ahead.
Taking him to the court, restraining him that he cannot contest because I've destroyed him. He was this sworn in 2 times as elected president. There was a time this part of the constitution was read in the station here. Somebody that has been elected twice, something twice, and elected twice. He was only elected once, not twice. He only came in to end the election of Yar'Adua as a vice president that time. He didn't contest. He was not the main contender. So he has only done one, elected once and sworn in once. Let us see how they will judge it this time around. If the judges are fair this time around, I don't think they will say he cannot contest. The constitution says he can still contest because he's only elected once.
Okay.
And sworn in once as elected president.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. Hello.
Somi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Well done. This is Engineer Ola.
Engineer, go ahead, sir.
Somi, GB, I greet you as well.
Welcome, Engineer.
You see, GB, you asked a question to Somi when you were talking about this constitution and all of that. You see, all these politicians, we keep Somi. Let me answer what GB was talking. We keep playing into their hands, and there was a time you were talking about how we can how we can hold the government accountable and all of that. And I put it to you back, brother, that how? Because you people normally make Nigerians look, because I don't want to use any negative word to you, Somi, but I know you meant well. But these people that are there, that are meant to do the work for us, do they meant well? You are talking about this thing now when somebody bring up a very good idea of a constitution. Who are the people that are going to pass it? It is the same National Assembly that going to pass it. So do you expect somebody to sign death warrant against himself? That is what I'm talking about. It's not, see, if there is any other way that we change the constitution, but if you are expecting the National Assembly to do that, it will not happen.
So what way can we use? What way can we are lamenting as it stands. So what way do you suggest that we can use to change the constitution?
That is the same question you are asking last week. That what way? People have been talking about it. People have been demanding. People have been talking about. They have been demanding. Somi, if these people meant well, that this is what the people want. Let us give them what they want. Won't they have done the needful by now? And then when the people come out and protest against that thing, Somi, these same people they will use the police, shoot tear gas, do all sorts of things against you. So you are saying, what do we do? The only thing, let me tell you something. The only thing that thing that we are running for, it is what's going to happen at last. I don't want to mention it on radio because it's not radio friendly. But
if it's not radio friendly, then it's not what we are supposed to do. Let's take a break, Engineer. We have a commercial break.
I'm not saying it.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
SA UK.
So, if you are calling in, please keep it no more than a minute. And probably will only be able to take a call, maybe two. We're able to rush through the messages. So, the issue of court case on oh dear God. Whew.
Where did that go?
Let me take a breather. I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing he's trying to call or he's trying to send another message. That's what typically happens when we have messages disappear like that. So I'll just move on to the next one. There we go. So, the issue of court case on eligibility to contest election by President Jonathan says it's an abuse of court process. APC is jittery of the man. Ambassador Afan there. Good afternoon. On Jonathan's re-election, why is it that some people just want to be disgraced before they learn? Those pushing this man are not doing him any good. I see greed taking its roots. OGB 1. Tom from Garimpa says, Mr. Gabriel, your submission in line with APC, of former President Goodluck Jonathan serving 2 terms and still contesting 2027 to make it a 3rd term. I don't think your analysis is constitutionally correct. He only contested once in 2015 when he served in place of a deceased former President, Umar Musa Yar'Adua, who passed in office. So in as much as the seeming ambiguity of Nigerian constitution isn't clear, Goodluck Jonathan is eligible to contest for the 2nd term and not the 3rd term as president. Thank you, he says. Ken from Zone 1 says, my take is the former president is denied this chance. What happens when a serving president dies or is removed? Unfortunately, during his 2nd tenure, and the vice who comes from the other divide takes over and consequently wants to contest, which favors the rotation system. Then after his 1st tenure, will he not go for the 2nd tenure? Let the court set the record for posterity. Anyway, so for me, Jonathan is eligible. Okay, let's see. Should we do a call or should we do the messages?
We have quite a number of messages here.
Okay, Neme from Asokoro says there's nothing intriguing about Gigi trying to meander to clinch any presidential ticket because, in all honesty, I don't see what tangible results he wants to bring into the picture because he doesn't possess the qualities to move this nation forward. I don't see him running a lean and cost-effective government. Peter Obi is well known to put in place for others to follow. Also, his entry is simply a disadvantage to Obi's camp, as his coming is only to reduce Obi's expected votes, thereby making President Tinubu to be re-elected, and the wailings of most Nigerians will continue. Okay. Talking about Jonathan, as many persons that are willing to come in, whether Atiku, Obi, Austin J.J. Okocha, and many others, let them put their views on the table. Nobody should be allowed to stop anybody from contesting the 2027 presidential election. The only way you stop them is to do better and not by harassing anybody. God bless Nigeria. That is Shunammite with that message. And lastly here, Mike from Wuse 2 says, good afternoon, Nigerian. I don't know what people are talking about. Jonathan is a formidable force in Nigerian politics. He's acceptable by all regions of Nigeria. It's people who want to hang on to power by all means that are afraid of his coming back. I believe he has the right to be silent and allow this discussion to go on. He doesn't owe anybody any clarification as to whether he will contest 2027 elections or not, because the time for that is not now. Thank you. Okay, our time is up and Joy is here for the news. By the time we come back after the news, we're switching gears. So thank you so much for all the messages and sorry for the ones we couldn't take. We'll be back.
Fortunately, on your number one talk station of the nation, Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja. Let's talk.